It's time to talk NWA Powerrr on Kayfabe Commentary. My name is Erik Rupp, and I am your host. And today we're going to talk about the latest episode of NWA Powerrr, episode number 16. And the first thing I've got to say is this. It's a question, really. It's something I've been thinking about ever since this episode showed up on Tuesday. Is it possible to have a great episode of a wrestling show when there are only 2 matches on that show? You typically would not think that's possible. But this episode of NWA Powerrr was outstanding, and that's with only 2 matches. That's remarkable. And I'll tell you why this episode was so good. Nick Aldis, James Storm, Eli Drake, Ricky Starks, Thunder Rosa, Zicky Dice, Melina, you name it. There was so much talent in this show, and they were all doing a great job on the mic. They were all just compelling personalities that made you want to watch them in or out of the ring. And that's what made this episode so good. It wasn't just about the wrestling. I mean, let's face it, this is a wrestling company, and the wrestling is the most important thing. But that doesn't mean that once in a while they can go in a different direction and show where the wrestlers are headed and show you who they are, not just what they can do. And in this episode of NWA Powerrr, that's exactly what we got. A picture of the wrestlers outside of the ring. And I'll tell you what, they're all compelling personalities. I mean, if you can't enjoy Eli Drake and James Storm going face-to-face with Aaron Stevens in the question mark, then there's something seriously wrong with you. Now, when talking about this episode, I want to go last things first. I want to talk about the end of the show, because I think Nick Aldis has made a huge tactical blunder here. I think Nick Aldis may have made the biggest mistake of his career so far, and this is something that could cost him that title. Nick Aldis had a sit-down with Marty Scurll. And as most of you know, the two of them go way back. They've been friends for probably 15 years. They came up together in the UK. They really grew as wrestlers at the same time, and they've been friends ever since. Up until about a year ago, when their relationship became strained, especially when Marty went after Nick's title at the Crockett Cup. And it seems like this is something that neither one of them has really fully gotten over. Marty Scurll clearly wants that title. That's something that means a lot to him. And that title, of course, means a hell of a lot to Nick Aldis. I mean, that defines who he is. He's said that many times. As a professional, that NWA championship, the real world's championship, means a lot to Nick Aldis. And the idea that his friend would want to take that away from him, regardless of your feelings about how Nick Aldis has behaved since December, we know what's been going on. It's been strictly business. We don't all like that he's been so cutthroat about things and that he hasn't been as nice a guy as he had been before. But I think we can all relate to Nick Aldis in this. If your best friend tries to take away something from you that means an awful lot to you, that's going to piss you off. You're going to be pretty mad, you're going to feel betrayed, and you're going to want to get back at that person. And after the match last year, it's not unreasonable to expect that Nick thought that they were done. Okay, my friend wanted his shot at that title. I gave him the shot. We worked everything out. I won. I'm still the champ. That's great. But Marty couldn't let it go. He's been in Ring of Honor, doing a great job there, but he still hasn't won that championship. He wants a world's championship, and the NWA championship is the real heavyweight championship of the world. So it's not unreasonable that Nick is angry about that. And so he wants to put Marty in a position where Marty has to give something up if he loses. Because if Nick loses, he loses that title. But if Marty loses, well, without any stipulations, he's got nothing to lose. So that he's not risking anything. So Nick wanted to give him something to risk. He wanted Marty to have something to lose. But here's where I think Nick made the big mistake. He's given Marty too much to lose. Marty already has plenty of motivation to want to win that title. Marty wants that title. He's dying to be the real world's heavyweight champion. And now Nick's putting a stipulation in place. And if Marty accepts this, not only does he really want that title just to have it, but now he really wants to win because he doesn't want to have to pay everybody at that arena back. He doesn't want to have to refund everybody because that's a hell of a lot of money to pay out if he loses. So now Marty's got all the motivation in the world to win. And for Nick, this is really just another title defense. Nick's had so many big title defenses. This is just another one. And there's not really a whole lot that's going to keep him extra focused the way Marty Scurll is going to be extra focused on this match coming up if he accepts it, and I expect that he probably will. So with the Crockett Cup, we may see a new real world's champion, the NWA champion, and this champion might be from Ring of Honor. Now let's talk about Thunder Rosa. She came out to do an interview, and then just before the interview starts, out comes Melina and Marty Bell. Now Marty Bell has the sense to let Thunder Rosa have the spotlight. She's just out there for support. But Melina has to interject and put herself into the situation. Melina has to take credit for Thunder Rosa winning that title. It was Thunder Rosa in that ring winning that title. It wasn't Melina. Yes, Melina's manipulation did make the match happen, but let's face it, that match was going to happen eventually anyway. But Melina is trying to take more credit for that than she is due. And at one point, Thunder Rosa did look a little irritated with Melina. Like there's just a bit of a crack because that title is something that Thunder Rosa won. She worked hard to make that happen. Melina may have been manipulative and she may have gotten that accelerated by a pay-per-view, but that was something that Thunder Rosa achieved, not Melina. And Thunder Rosa let everybody know how much it meant to her and how confident she is, as we found out that there will be a rematch for that title on the next episode of NWA Powerrr, and that should be a fantastic match. The match at Hard Times, that was a match of the year candidate. That was just one of the best matches of the year, and it's going to remain that way throughout the year. That was just amazing. And the idea that we might get another one that good at the next Powerrr, that's exciting, and I can't wait to see that. Now, I need to talk about Ricky Starks, your new television champion. Now, we've seen this guy come in back when Powerrr started in October, and from then till now, his trajectory has been nothing but upward. He keeps getting better and better and better, and he is one of the best talents on that NWA roster. And let's face it, this is a loaded roster that the NWA has. And Ricky Starks earned that television title by beating 3 tough guys, and he is just absolutely getting better and better. Absolute Ricky Starks is absolutely getting better week to week. Now, he wanted to talk to Zicky Dice, who really feels like he got cheated. He had to face a giant monster in Dan Moff at Hard Times, and Dan Moff came out on top. And Zicky Dice feels that the NWA was not fair in bringing in outside talent to face him at that TV title tournament. Let's face it, not too many guys can beat Dan Moff. Trevor Murdoch got the job done, and it pretty much wiped him out, leaving not a whole lot left to go against Ricky Starks. But Starks did have to face 3 guys, and, between Matt Cross, Tim Storm, and Trevor Murdoch, he earned that television title. But Zicky Dice still thinks it's his title. So the 2 of them are talking at the podium with Dave Marquez, who, again, does a fantastic job interviewing the wrestlers and doing the ring announcing. And the 2 of them are going back and forth, and Ricky Starks gets basically tired of Zicky Dice's mouth and challenges him to a match right then and there. Now, that's a TV champion. He defends the title whenever there's a challenger, and he did that, and they had a fantastic match. And like the tournament, it was 6 minutes, 5 seconds time limit. And in that time, they had just a great match, and Ricky Starks successfully defended that title. But you know what? Again, in a loss, Zicky Dice looked really good. he kind of elevated himself again in a loss. And it's not easy to do that in pro wrestling, to elevate your status when you lose. But sometimes when you're facing a great opponent and you have a great match, you do just that. And Zicky Dice, as outlandish as he is, he can back it up in the ring. And I'm looking for big things from him going forward because he really looked good again, even though he lost. Another cool thing that's come up is that the NWA has instituted a Lucky 7 rule. So if the TV champion successfully defends his title or gets to a time limit draw in 7 straight matches, he gets a title shot at the 10 pounds of gold. That is amazing. That's a fantastic rule because at a certain point, the guy who holds that television championship, if he keeps winning, he's earned a shot at the 10 pounds of gold and the world's heavyweight championship. And that is something I am looking forward to seeing. Is Ricky Starks going to make that happen? Well, he's on his way. He's got his first title defense successfully done. And I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't mention the new World Tag Team Champions, Eli Drake and James Storm. Those two guys were on the show, and they just were hilarious. I mean, those guys have great personality, great charisma, and of course they back it up in the ring. I don't think there's a tag team in the world that could beat those guys right now. But they are just fantastic on the mic. Let's face it, the crowd loves them. I love them. You love them. Those guys are great. And it was foolish of Aaron Stevens to come out there and even confront them at all. Aaron Stevens and the question mark want a title shot. Well, as Eli Drake pointed out, they've got to take a number and wait their turn because there are other teams that are before them. But I'll tell you something, that was just a great segment, a great interview, a great promo. Eli Drake and James Storm are absolutely fantastic and great, great assets to the NWA. They're just, just amazing how much talent, how much great talent the NWA has, and those two guys are at the top of the list.